It's funny how some of the most important ideas in history come from the strangest places. And one of the most powerful concepts in American law, judicial review, wasn't born from some grand constitutional convention. Nope. It came from a bitter political fight over a job that was never even delivered.
So that's the big question we're diving into, right? How did one simple piece of paper, a judge's commission that got lost in the shuffle, end up giving the Supreme Court its ultimate authority? It's an incredible story of political backstabbing, a legal trap, and one of the most brilliant chess moves in American history.
To really get this, we've got to go back in time, back to a really tense moment in American history, a moment that was basically a political time bomb just waiting to go off. Okay, so picture this. It's 1801, and the political air in America is toxic. The country just survived one of its ugliest elections ever. The Federalist Party, led by President John Adams, lost. And they lost to their biggest rivals, led by the incoming President Thomas Jefferson. Now, this was not a friendly transfer of power. These guys could not stand each other. And Adams was about to make one last desperate move. And at the heart of all this, you've got your key players. First, there's John Adams, the outgoing president. He's trying to pack the courts with his own guys at the very last second. They were called the Midnight Judges. William Marbury is one of those guys. And on the other side, you've got the winner, Thomas Jefferson, and his new Secretary of State, James Madison, who are basically ready to burn everything Adams just did to the ground. And this is where a simple little political fight blows up into a full-blown constitutional crisis. And it all starts with, believe it or not, a missing job offer. It really is this simple. William Marbury was appointed to be a justice of the peace. His commission was all signed and sealed, ready to go, but in the chaos of the presidential transition, it just never got physically delivered to him. So when Jefferson and Madison walk into the office, they find this stack of undelivered commissions, including Marbury's, and they're just like, nope, we're not delivering these. As you can imagine, Marbury was furious. He was legally supposed to have that job, and he decided he was going to fight for it. So Marbury does something bold. He takes his case directly to the Supreme Court. And he asks for something called a writ of mandamus. Now, that's just a fancy legal term for a court order that forces a government official to actually do their job. He wanted the Supreme Court to order James Madison, point blank, to hand over that commission. This whole mess lands right on the desk of the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, a man named John Marshall. And let me tell you, he is in an absolutely impossible position. He's trapped between a rock and a hard place with no easy way out. I mean, just look at his options here. They are both terrible. If Marshall and the court ordered Madison to deliver the job letter, President Jefferson would almost certainly just laugh and tell Madison to ignore it. The court didn't have an army. It had no way to enforce its decisions. It would look like a complete joke, totally powerless. But if the court sided with Madison, it would look weak, like it was just caving to political pressure from the new president. It was a lose-lose situation. But here's the thing about John Marshall. He was a brilliant political thinker. He wasn't going to choose option A or option B. He was about to invent option C, an absolute masterstroke that no one, and I mean no one, saw coming. Marshall's logic in the court's final decision was just pure genius. So first, he agrees with Marbury. He says, yes, you absolutely have a legal right to your commission. Madison is breaking the law by not delivering it. That made all the Federalists happy. Second, he says, yes, the law should absolutely provide a solution when someone's rights are violated. But then came the twist. Marshall declares that the part of the law that gave the Supreme Court the power to issue that order in the first place was actually unconstitutional. So by giving up that one small power in this one case, Marshall grabbed a much, much bigger one for the court, the power of judicial review. This is the incredible power for the Supreme Court to look at any law passed by Congress or any action by the president and decide if it follows the Constitution. And if it doesn't, the court can strike it down. It becomes the ultimate umpire. And this quote right here really gets to the heart of his whole argument. Marshall's reasoning was basically this: the Constitution is the supreme #1 law of the land. If any other law clashes with it, the Constitution has to win. And who gets to decide? Well, Marshall declared it was the job of the Supreme Court to say what the law is. So, in the end, William Marbury never got his job. The case was dismissed. But the fallout from this one decision, it completely reshaped the American government and still affects every single one of us today.
In one single brilliant move, John Marshall took the judicial branch, which was honestly seen as the weakest of the three branches, and made it a truly co-equal partner with Congress and the president. He lost the small battle over Marbury's job to win the much larger war for the power and authority of the Supreme Court. And the legacy is just immense. This case established the Supreme Court as the final voice on what the Constitution means. It created a powerful check on both the president and Congress, making that idea of checks and balances a real thing. It's the tool the court still uses to this day to protect our constitutional rights. And all of this leaves us with one final, huge question. Through a masterful political move, the Supreme Court gave itself the final say on the law. But it brings up the one question we are still debating over 200 years later. If the court is the ultimate check on everyone else, who checks the court?